All right. So on to step 8. So now we're taking a look at the footer element inside index.php. So the nav, we created a nav element in the header for the kind of global site navigation, but you can use a nav element anywhere in your page template you want, as long as the purposes for your using that are for the purposes of navigation, whether that's local page navigation, local like navigation within a section of a website, or maybe in this case, we're going to kind of build a navigation section inside the footer for kind of like fine print, sort of like legal stuff, right? So, so we'll go ahead here just under step A, and we're going to create a nav element, just like we have. Great. So that is a direct, the nav element here is a direct descendant of the footer element, so we want to tab it in one tab stop. Terrific. So now we're going to build a link inside this nav element to the page privacy policy. You'll see that the privacy policy is in your file system, the files that you've downloaded and extracted, is actually buried inside a file or a file folder or a directory called About. So we're beginning to build a little bit of structure within this website. So inside here, what we'll do is we're not going to use a list this time. We're just going to simply build an anchor, A, and we're going to point the href to. Now this one, we'll use a relative, you can use an absolute URL, but we'll use a relative URL here and say, okay, so right now we're on the index page. From here, we need to go into the About directory and then down into privacy-policy.php. So we go, so from here we go About / and then privacy-policy.php. So this path is relative to the location of the file we are currently in, which is index. That's great. We'll add a useful title. Feed our privacy policy. And the link text node will say privacy policy. Like so. So that anchor will be inserted directly inside the nav element, like such. So let's go ahead and save this page. File save. Upload the new and improved index.php. Let's check this out. We'll go to the home page. And there it is. So I can click on this and mouse over it. Make sure your title tag or your title attribute is rendering in a tooltip. Look at the URL down here in the status bar. And you'll notice that because I've added the About, that gets appended to the root URL there. So click on that, and off we go to the privacy policy page. That's great. So that is working fine. You'll also notice the About page. So now we've drilled down inside the from the top level, kind of the root site root into the About directory and into this page. So that's great. There's a few things on the page we have to kind of fix up. One, remember we're missing that little icon up here, and that's okay. So that's working out for us okay. So that's great. So that completes step 8B. Let's go ahead and construct a second link that takes the visitor to the element with the ID personal information. And what do I mean by this? Okay, so if we look at this page, let's open up privacy policy. Let's imagine, let's just say this is a fairly long page, which it is. There's a lot of content in here. Maybe I want to navigate not only to a specific page, but to a specific location within a certain page. So if you look down here on the privacy policy page, there's the heading privacy policy. There's a number of legal mumbo jumbo in case this is just bogus text. I have another heading here called use of personal information. So that this heading or the use of personal information is embedded within the privacy policy page down a little further. So what I've got is I've got a heading level 3, but there's a specific attribute here called an ID. And an ID is a unique identifier that can be added, kind of like a serial number, to any HTML element. So I've got added the ID personal-information onto this heading. So I can actually not only link to this page privacy policy, but actually using a hash mark point to specifically this spot on the page. How do I do that? So let's go back to index.php, and after the privacy, I'll add a space here. I'll add a pipe character, which is a vertical. This is just usually above the enter key on your keyboard. You hit shift, just kind of like a vertical separator. And I'm going to add another ahref equal, and I'm going to, let's just make sure this page break doesn't confuse people. The href for this one is going to be, of course, about, just like before. So it goes to the privacy policy page. But then I'm going to add a hash mark here, and this means ID. So I'm going to go to the ID, and I want to copy the ID value from this heading, so where I want to land on this page. And I paste that, or append that at the end. So this looks kind of rather long, but what it's saying is go from here to the About folder, dig up the privacy policy.php page, and then find the ID personal information on that page. So our how we treat your so something helpful there. I'll say personal information will be the text for the link, close out the anchor. So there I'm going to highlight what I've added to the nav element in the footer. So this that link should get us not only from the home page to the privacy policy page, but directly to that piece of the page. So this is called page level navigation. File, save index.php. Let's fire this up. Go back to the home page. Yep. Uh-oh. All right. Nope, I broke something. Yeah, we'll figure out to track that one down. So there we go. So there's the personal information link. If I click on that, you'll see it goes directly to, now of course the page kind of, may have to shrink the page a little bit there. If I click there, it will go directly to the use of personal information page. So you may have to reduce the, if the whole page is visible, of course, it won't look like you've actually landed there, but it will take you directly to that heading. So that's cool. So now so I must hear, what is the, oh, I know what that's. We'll get back to that. So there's that local page level navigation for you. So you can not only link to a page, but to a specific part of a page as long as you have access to an ID. You may have to add one to your content. Cool. So that is step 8C. 8D, we've tried that. That's great. So the next step, we're going to open up privacypolicy.php itself. So off we go. And we're going to go down then to, I guess we're going to step 9, right? Step 9. I'm looking for step 9A. And step 9A is actually at the top of the page inside the page level header element. So we're somewhere around about line 19 of privacypolicy.php. So carefully track where you're at. Now, so let's take a look at this page here. So we're on the privacy policy page. And you'll notice that this navigation system is the same as, sure enough, it's the same as here, but these ones are blue. These are purple. So what this is saying, the wayfinding system is saying you haven't been at these pages. Now, if we mouse over this link, look at the status bar. So down below here, take a close look at the URL and tell yourself if you can find anything wrong about that. So another clue, let's look at our, so now we're on the code of the privacy policy. So really, we look at the, these are called, these are relative URLs. So what this is saying is, from this page, privacy policy, go directly to a page right beside it called index.php. But you'll note that the privacy policy page is buried down inside the about directory. So in order to get back up to the index page, I would have to go up one directory and then over laterally into index.php. So in order to do that, we actually have to, before the file itself, from a relative perspective, we say, so we've got dot, that means up one directory, and then slash. So this here would bring us up out of the about directory and into the directory lesson file start, where we can find the index.php. So just save this part here, make this change here on line 20, file save. And remember, we're in privacy policy.php. So I'll have to go into about here, and I'll also have to drill down into about here. So I'll replace that. Let's refresh the page. And you'll notice that home suddenly turns purple. So these are still broken, right? But the home one now goes back up again here, right? These ones, when you click on these, they're looking for about/red.php. Well, red.php isn't in the about folder. It's up one directory. So that's why these pull up what's called a 404 error, file not found. So now let's go ahead and fix all of these links here, and we'll add this piece of syntax. And fix those URLs. File save. Replace the privacy policy page. And there we go. Back to red blocks, blue blocks. There we go. Okay. Now we'll add the we'll also add the little HTML logo at the top here, such as it is. So let's go back and see that, and this will be interesting as well. So I'll borrow that piece of code. I'll go back to index.php from the top of the page, and inside the header, I'll copy this here. And I'll go to the header and paste that here. So save that, file save. So now I've got the logo in the header, so that should be, the privacy policy should now have the same branding. I'll reload the page and that's interesting. What's going on here? So you'll see this icon is a broken image icon. And this HTML here, what this is the alternate text. So this is rendered if, for whatever reason, either images are turned off, or if the path to this image is not right, or for whatever reason that the image fails to load. In this case, this SVG graphic failed to load. Why? Well, for the same reason that these URLs, these relative URLs, failed as well. Now, I could do a number of things. I could either figure out from this page, privacy policy, how do I get to that HTML logo.svg, or I could use an absolute URL. So I could, if I wanted, I could just say, all right, let's just use, I'll copy the domain, right, and slash images. So this, no matter where I am in the website, will always work, because it just says go to the root of the website into the images folder and grab this, right? So let's save the new and improved privacy policy.php. And of course, this works. Now, the downside to using this is this can be a bit clunky, and you know, it's more code. So what we could do in this case is we could use a relative URL. So relative to this page here, I have to go up out of the About folder into the Lesson Start files, right? Then into the Images folder, and then grab the URI down here, the Uniform Resource Indicator. So that's what we want here. So we can do that that way as well. Save that. We go and same result. Okay. Cool. But I digress. Okay, so paths are important. So either you're using an absolute or a relative path. It's important to note, you know, where you are and where those resources are. So let's go ahead now. We fixed step 9B. We fixed step 9B or 9A, 9B. We fixed the above paths as well. Now the next step is down at the bottom of the page, step 9C. So the below links don't work for the same reasons as the nav and the header. What are we talking about here? So let's go over into we're into our privacy policy page, right? Let's go down here. You'll see I've got the privacy policy and the use of personal information, but they both break. Why? Well, remove the code. So, well, these URLs made sense. If you were on the index page, from the index page, you would have to go into the About directory, down and grab this page here. That makes sense. But if we're already down there, so if we're already on this page here, I don't need to now drill down into the About folder. I'm already in it. So what I need to do then, the relative URL changes. I'll fix the first link first. So we don't want to drill down into the About folder because we're already there. So remove that, file save, upload that, refresh our page, and you can see that this points to the same page. So we're good. But this one is still broken. I think I didn't put use out. I'll just clean that up, just like personal information. But so here, the same thing, the href needs to omit the About, reference to the About folder. Right? I'll save. Go. This one here. It's kind of neat. If I shrink the window and I go here, you'll see it goes up, moves the scroll bar up, right? So everything is working the way it should now. So always be mindful of when you're using relative URLs, where you are and where you're going, and that will help you. So things like, you know, things that like the status bar here will be helpful. So take a look at down here. The address bar, even when it fails, you know, look at the paths, look at the folders, try and figure out where you are and where you need to go. That's great. So now we're going to just make sure all the nav element links work in both the headers and footers of all the pages, and they're all pointing me in the right direction. So privacy policy, that works, that's fine. The red blocks page, blue, yellow. So go on each page and make sure that you are navigating without any broken links, right? So, you know, go to the blue blocks. Maybe we should be a bit more systematic. You know, so go to the home page, check this link, use back, this link, and back, and then we go to the red page. Personal information and back, privacy policy and back, so on and so forth. So comb through the footer navigation elements and the header navigation element. Make sure all the pages are linked together, and there you have it. You've got your very own micro site, which is great, with local navigation to local pieces on a page, and then page level navigation to other pages, and as well outbound, instead of inbound URLs, you have outbound URLs that are external, which allows you to leave the website and go to other resources on the web. So the key takeaway really here is make sure that your navigation is consistent across pages in a web application or a website, and also that your links are accessible. You have those keywords instead of no click me or click here. The keywords are inside the text node, and the anchor has an appropriate href and also a helpful title. And if the of course, if the link is outbound, as it is in the case of the link outbound to the Lego website, we have a rel equal external. So there you go. There's kind of a foray into links and navigation. I hope you enjoyed that. So next up, you're going to take what you have here, or use the zip file to complete the lab, which will extend this microsite a little bit further. I hope you enjoyed.